Live from iRacing's virtual Kansas Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to RaceSpotTV's continuing coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series playoffs. The round of 16 rolls on into race number 2, and we're happy that you're strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us here this afternoon for the Kansas 200. Along with our director Joshua Lee downstairs, Terry Radford, myself, Evan Pasoko in the RaceSpotTV booth, and Evan King was the man who answered the bell last week, Terry, winning at Darlington. He now has more wins than anybody else this season, and he is moseying on into the round of 12, but there is still a lot of unfinished business for those other 15 drivers, and a lot of drivers who had a bad night out with the Lady to Black means that they're going to be coming from behind here this afternoon.
Yeah, Kansas is the perfect place to come from behind and maybe make up some momentum here. Kevin King, last week's winner, sitting 9th in practice. So, you know, he has some speed, but it's not race-winning speed. Joseph Diaz actually led practice there. It's going to be an interesting show. I think a lot of these drivers are going to have to make some leaps and bounds because they struggled big time there. But I think Brandon Six is your guy. Oh, yeah, I told you I'd show you these boots.
Let's see it.
Hecho in Mexico is where these Soto boots were made. Brand new out of the box. You see, I told you, you can see the little nails. You can see all the nails in there to build the boots. Most uncomfortable pair of boots I ever put on my foot. So I just thought I'd let you know. These boots right here.
For style, right?
Yeah, these boots I got right here on the feet, these suckers right there, man, they wear perfect. But these, uncomfortable wedding boots.
Well, hey, you know, I don't have anything to show off. I'm always a socks person in the house, especially when I'm racing too. So I ain't got any kicks to show off, but maybe those boots will come in handy if we're two-stepping up against the fence here tonight at Kansas. Of course, you take a look at your playoff standings. Of course, Kevin King with that race win has locked himself into the round of 12. He is good to go. And let's look down below the cut line and in that area, which is really obviously the big story, right? I mean, you know, you look at your 5 through 8. Those drivers are kind of in a middle point, but when we get to the bottom, Terry, Andrew Freenosh is the last driver in. Only 5 points up on Brandon Bowie, who's had a strong year. A little bit surprised that he's down there. Casto and Cato had nights to forget, and Burke didn't even start at Darlington. So those 4 drivers in trouble.
Yeah, and with Andrew Freenosh being right there on the bubble, he has to do something here. Freenosh has been good all season long. Really can't have a misfortunate event here. He has to go out there and be Babe Ruth. He has to knock it out of the park. He has to have a top 10 finish and hope that Bowie, Casto, Cato, Burke start to have an issue. Joseph Diaz, though, he come in here, I think he wants to shake some stuff up. He wants to be the Bubba Wallace of yesterday and come out here and spoil these boys' party.
Looking to play a spoiler. We did not see that last week, of course, with King getting the race win, but of your 34 cars in the field here tonight, I'm going to have to do some quick math. 18 of them are non-playoff drivers, so they are going to be a factor in this race one way or another. Qualifying is underway now. We look at the forecast of what we're going to be racing here tonight in this Kansas 200. Tonight's race, clock it in at 134 laps in distance. That means that we'll be racing for 200 miles tonight. As always, there are no faster pairs available to the drivers in the field here this afternoon. They have 4 additional sets of tires available on pit road, and that little fuel window in the 57 to 67 range. That, in theory, unless you're going 67 right on the number, means that you could get to halfway, but I think with the yellows and whatnot, Terry, it's almost certainly going to be a 2-stopper race, and of course strategy varying from there. We're not going to see the same tire dag we saw at Darlington. We were running out of sets of tires in the first half of that race before we got some green flag runs in, but you know, up top is really the big thing here at Kansas as we take a live look into Michael Laraya in the qualifying session. Looks like he likes the bottom down at the far end of the racetrack, but don't be surprised if you got some people rim riding.
Yeah, no, you'll rim ride during the race, but in qualifying, you really want to paint that white line. You want to kind of cut the dog leg, you would say, right there. You saw this machine doing. That's William Smith in the 79, but he's like in the middle lane. This is just his first lap on the track, and he works it back low. So you want to build up as much speed as possible on your first lap, get back around. He had a good run last week, and then we have to bounce back into this and get another one. But a lot of these, look at these drivers here on Bowie, Freenage. They're showing out, man. They're 8th and 9th, and we'll see what William Smith can do here on this first one. Where'd he clock? 21st, that was a bad lap. You got to go it again.
Yeah, use 2 laps, right? These drivers have 2 laps to do it, so that's one where you might want to use both, although I don't think it's going to be any improvement in that range there as he dives off and in. And as you can see on the Kayla Synthetics leaderboard, taking a live look at it, Brian Chambliss, currently 7th on the board. You'll see those names highlighted in red. That's going to be the easiest way for you to tell who's the playoff driver and who is not. Apart from one another, you'll also be able to see, as always, those red playoff markings on the cars, and we should be seeing a lot of that at the front when we go to the grid, because 1 through 6 right now dominated by playoff cars, including 8 of the top 9.
Yeah, you got a couple guys there in the back, playoff drivers that just aren't having. Kevin King did not have a good lap. He's 27th on this board. So last week's winner, he told us, hey, Kansas is not my strong suit. And here he sits. He's back in the back. I mean, he is literally almost tail end Charlie here this afternoon. We'll see what he can do.
Something that I find interesting, of course, Kevin King has had so much success this season, most notably of late, right? But those wins have not been at racetracks like this. I think the closest track to this would have been Darlington. And again, it's not really comparable as other wins at places like Pocono, New Hampshire, some of the shorter racetracks, earlier in the year as well, a big place at Talladega. So I don't think Kevin King's lying to us when he says, listen, intermediate package. And Ross Cato will make up row number 2 with Michael Araya and Connor Horn on row number 3. Remember, those are all playoff competitors. First non-playoff driver, Brian Chambliss, will start 7th. He is next to Andrew Friedosh. He needs a big points night at 8th. Brandon Bowie's 9th, and Joseph Tice rounds out your top 10.
We're off the air. We are back. Hey, you look back here. You've got Bradley Burke, Chris Rabel, 11th and 12th, Sean Kalist, Harry Grindell, Agnell Phillip, Tom Wetmore, Nick Silver, Sam Nieto, Jared Weinmaster, and William Smith rounds out your top 20.
And continuing on down through the field, you got Eric Papadow. You talk about Schmidt and some of the other names: Gary Sexton, Sean Casto, Grant Davis, Matt Danson, Kevin King, Tom Morano, Kyle Kamer, Brandon Fetter plays your top 30, and a couple of drivers opting not to take a time in qualifying: Dylan Jones, Daniel Eberhardt, James Ross, and Mike Kaczynski. So a couple of big names back there, notably Jones and, of course, Eberhardt. 2 names who could easily be in contention for the race win here this afternoon that are not playoff competitors, and they're going to have their work cut out for them starting from the tail end. Lights are out on top of the iRacing official pace car, though. As always, we're happy that you're spending your Monday night with us here on RaceSpotTV. Pace car down and in. The field is in the hands of the regular season champion, Brandon Six, as we say, let's go racing at Kansas. It is an early lap lead for Six from pole as he's able to gain about 0.3 of a second on now P2 runner Michael Johnson. Johnson not in the clear though. Cody Harris going to do his best on the outside to fight back down the back straightaway.
Yeah, the bottom line worked really early on the first lap. It's not really going to work as the run progresses. I think that the outside line is going to work. As you see Cody Harris, he's going to go to the middle line. You got, I believe that's Laraya all the way against the wall. He was working the bottom side in turns 1 and 2, went to 3 and 4. He went all the way back up to the top. It's 3x3 for 4 rows deep as everybody's really won track position here.
Yeah, they know that it's critical early and already 3 wide now in the battle for 4th on back as Freenosh joins the scene to the outside of the racetrack. Now Loraya topside on Harris, and he should be able to get the run off the banking. Yes, he does. And Loraya quickly up 3. He's into 2nd spot now for the first time tonight. Harris drops to 3rd, and Freenosh and co prefer to stick and stay loyal to that outside line right now as the challengers continue underneath them.
I think what I'm most looking forward to tonight is out of the 88 car, can he put a race together? Can Andrew Freenosh stay up front all race long? When he's good and he's on, he's on. And he's up front, he's leading laps, he's contending for a win. But when he's having an off night, he's really having an off night. You just don't get swept up in other people's issues. There's a battle for the lead. Michael Rai, he wants to gain another spot. He wants to go up to the lead, and that he does. He's actually going to be side by side with Brandon 6, off of 2 down the back. He clears him. So new race leader, Loraya, he showed up to party. It's a 31.4 fastest lap of the race.
Impressive stuff from Michael Loraya. Didn't touch much about him. Comes into tonight 9th on the playoff grid. 11 clear of elimination. Of course, 6 already scored a bonus point tonight for leading those opening 4 laps. And Michael Loraya has also been able to score a bonus point after leading at the conclusion of lap number 5. You mentioned Joseph Tice in the pre-races. We see Brandon 6 pass the 67 car on the inside of Connor Horn. So some major issue for playoff entry Horn, who is just now getting on track. That means he is already 5 laps down, Terry. Not sure what the issue was that prevented Horn from starting this race on the pace laps, but 5 laps is a pretty insurmountable number, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope for some carnage, and he's going to have to hope for some carnage quick. You know, yeah, he's 5 laps down, but that means, hey, if there's 6 to go and 10 cars get wiped out, he's gained some positions, and you know there's going to be some issues. This track is hot, it's slick. You're not really going to be able to avoid a whole lot of incidents. I came into Kansas this week in officials and thought, man, I'm going to go out here and win some races, and I'm going to go gain some iRating. That didn't happen for me. That was an absolute overlook on my part. I went in, I lost a ton of iRating, lost a ton of safety rating because I was too aggressive. And some of these drivers are getting aggressive early. You see 3 wide, you see 4 wide at some points. Drivers are slipping down on the bottom. They're driving the corner very hard. They're wanting to sail it on in there. That's going to tear that right front completely off. And then you're going to start to see drivers push up through the center of the corner, and it's going to make it unbearable to drive. And there's not a whole lot of separation, so there's a ton to lose and not a whole lot to gain.
Seems like a good metaphor for the entirety of these playoffs. Each race, not a ton to gain, but a lot to lose with every step. And just look at all of those red windshield banners on the inside. 6 of them in a row. Danson makes it 7 as, again, a majority of your playoff field of drivers running right now inside of your top 15. Laraya's able to swing wide up and off of the corner, trying to hold off Brandon Bowie's charge. The 34 machine trying to make some moves. Of course, Bowie coming into tonight's race below the cut line. 5 back of Andrew Freenosh. Not where he thought he would find himself at this point in the season. But he is going to be able to use the outside to clear 6. Now back down to the bottom in 3 and 4. And side by side for the race lead. 10 laps in. Inside those, not going to cut it. And Loraya shakes that one off.
Yeah, Brandon Bowie's going to have to be, he doesn't have to be perfect tonight. He does not have to be perfect, but if you're in the 34 seat, if you're in his head for just 20 seconds, you have to think that, hey, I can't put myself in a bad position. I understand wanting to get that bonus point right now, but let the race come to, oh no, the 29's hard on the wall.
Caution is out. Chris Rabel is involved in this accident, and the yellow flies. The Century Communities Ford Mustang with some notable right front damage on the race car will have to step aside and take a second look at this one. Off of turn number 2, it's the 43 car of Sean Kalis to his outside, and as they come off 2, and just a little bit loose. Kalis wasn't that sideways, Terry, but it needed those extra 5 to 10 feet below him to catch that race car, and unfortunately it took him right into the right rear of the 29 car and hooked him around.
Yeah, you look right here on board with 43 of Sean Kalis. He doesn't look sideways. He doesn't look loose. Now we catch a look at the wheel. Yeah, just, oh my gosh. It looks like two people just going for the same real estate. Everybody wants to get that air. Everybody wants to be clear to the outside. You don't want to find yourself going into turn number 3 in the middle lane. You don't want to overuse your tires. You start to bake them. It's never a good sign when drivers this early. We're 12 laps in. And drivers are already slipping off the corner just ever so slightly. And while that looked, you know, kind of minor, it looked like, hey, that could have been avoided. You're close. We talked about it earlier. There's no separation in this field. All these drivers are like an accordion. All of them are back together. But hey, guess what? The only driver a lap down, Connor Horn, hey, there you go. 4 laps down now.
So Sean Kalis has claimed responsibility for the incident. He'll get the end of the longest line of penalty, and a couple of playoff drivers down pit road. Michael Johnson, Sean Casto, Tom Wetmore, all in. Of course, this is good news for Connor Horn because, well, nobody else had the opportunity to lose their lead lap status. So if you wonder why he's doing 155 miles an hour under caution, it's because he's getting one of his laps back. So he is the wave around lucky dog this time by. So he'll go from 5 down to 4 down. And again, never say never. But I will say in 9 years or so, Terry, of watching and calling races like this, I can probably count the amount of times that a driver's come back from 5 laps down on an intermediate track on one hand, right? Cars start to get wrecked out. You get people 1 lap down, you get people 2 laps down, and it's just hard, right, to get 5 laps back consecutively. And you can see what that missed start has done for Horn is, well, it has him 13th in the standings right now, below the cut line in the live standings. Of course, that's notable because Connor Horn came into tonight 5th. So doesn't mean he's going to give up. He goes from 5 laps down to 4 laps down. There's a long way to go in this race, but it is certainly going to be a big disadvantage. And hearing that he had his sim crash before the race and had some issues loading back in time for the grid.
I'm going to be real with you. While we have never seen 5 laps down come back and be in contention or at least have a better finish, I'm not counting him out, especially at a place like this. A lot of drivers did not pit, and I mean a lot of drivers. You got to go all the way back to 19th-ish for Michael Johnson coming down pit lane. You know, the 39's the first one there. As you see the birdies fly by here in iRacing, the sim world.
Got to watch out for the helicopters. Yeah. Got to look out for a bird strike there.
Got to watch out for them. They might, you know, somebody might poop on the windshield. That might cause a wreck. We can add that to things that we've seen, right? But for Connor Horn, you got to be aggressive. I think right now, who cares? If you're him, he was 5th in the standings coming into this race. If he puts it in his head and goes, it doesn't matter. If you get another caution to 10 laps and everybody comes down pit lane, you get the wave around again. This is a hard track to lap people on. We need a very long green flag run. If everybody pits, take the wave around. You know, pit once, everybody comes down for the second one, take the wave around. You get the free pass and the wave around. You're kind of there. You know, you get an opportunity to potentially gain some more time up that you was going to lose. It's going to be a challenge, but Connor Horn's not going to give up.
Far from it, and lights are out on top of the pace cars, so we will get set for a restart. Drivers 21st on back have pitted. As I mentioned, it included playoff drivers Johnson, Wetmore, and Casto, along with, of course, Connor Horn, who now comes to the pit lane after taking his wave around. It was also an interesting mixed call on pit road because, again, I think the big storyline here is going to be tires tonight. You only have 4 additional sets. You know, why would you be coming down pit road 13 laps in? Well, those stops were largely for fuel only. Remember how we said 67 is literally right at halfway at 134 to make it on a 1-stopper? These guys banking on those green flag runs to make it work. Some of them did take tires, not everybody though, and I think that's going to be notable as we try to track who's got fresh rubber the later we get into this race. The 44 Lariah has opted to go to the inside line for this restart. He will lead alongside the 34 of Bowie. Pace car off and in, 15 laps down, green flag back in the air.
That's a very good start for the 44 there. He had Brandon 6 all up his back bumper, and the only thing that a lot of these playoff drivers are going to have to hope for is that the new tires who are coming through this field, because there was a handful of them that did take new tires, that they're not too aggressive, that they're not trying to rip the high side and just force their way into a situation, because that's going to be costly, especially if you're fighting really hard to stay in the playoffs here.
And here's the move to the inside. Bowie leads the charge. He'll slide up clear of Michael Lariah. Goes back down to the apron to cut through. And a new race leader, 17 laps in. Brandon Bowie gets his first lap led of the afternoon. Playoff drivers now occupying your top 8 positions and 11 of the top 12 as they are side by side through the field.
Oh, no!
Oh, and trouble behind.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I'm sure Connor Horn was hoping that they really would have wrecked. But yeah, that's Mike Kaczynski. If he just would have spun that car and he would have lost time, but that's another spot gained. Horn was 1 spot out. That now, if he comes down pit lane and fixes that damage, because you can almost guarantee you a toe link is broken on that one. He got the meatball flag. That's 5 laps to pit that car. So that could be 1 spot gain for the 67. That ties him for the position to get into the playoffs, and he owns the tiebreaker.
Big implications, even if it's non-playoff drivers involved in the incident. Of course, it was just 1 car, so no yellow, we stay green. Kaczynski has been able to get that car to pit road, and this looked very similar to what we saw at a K-List in the last incident, right? Coming off at turn 2, gonna get a little bit loose, but it happens really late in the corner, and he overreacts it, and he turns it back up the hill, and that is a heavy dose of contact on the passenger side. That is where the damage comes from. In Mike Kaczynski's case, the 30 machine damaged and still sitting there stationary on pit road. Up front, your 3 leaders running 1, 2, 3. It's Bowie over 6 over Lariah, and side by side looking for more is that 95 on the outside of Bradley Burke. Wants to break his way into the conversation, and here comes Gary Sexton as well. And one of his few starts this season, the number 1 Toyota coming through with authority, with a lot of speed, having took 4 tires on that last pit stop.
He stole the words and the thought out of my head. He's got tires, but not saying that Gary Sexton couldn't do this without tires. He's fast, and anything he does, he's notably one of the competitors in Monday Night Racing. Their championship was ran, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So he's very competitive when it comes to the world of sim racing, and it's good to see Gary Sexton coming out here in RSR, potentially leading some laps. He's going to take it here to the, he's going to go to the middle and try to get ahead of Brandon Bowie, and he's going to get this off the corner. I mean, he is flying off before. They're going to drag race, and Sexton leads the lap.
Up on the outside line, Sexton gets his first lap load of the afternoon. Of course, Sexton has found success, has ran well many a times over the course of his career here in RSR. Not a full campaign this year, but you know, he's somebody, again, limited starts, nothing to lose. Why not take that early pit stop, get the tires, and if this race goes green, you look like a genius. Look at the 3 wide a little bit further back. It's Matt Danson in the middle of it all. To his outside of Joseph Tice. To the bottom is Grant Davis. And Davis right now, second highest running non-playoff driver, trying to find the balance between how aggressive you want to be with all of these championship hopefuls around you. Davis going to clear Danson, but Danson going to clear Tice. So he'll find a spot up top and spinning behind. 2 cars, 3 cars around, Eberhard, Jones, and more. And now the yellow's out on a late hit for Windmaster.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was nasty. Everybody was just wrecked. I mean, that wreck seemed like it lasted forever. You look here at the 90 of Eberhard. It's just, oh my gosh. That was so late. Looks like he just got turned there, got loose, and then the back end got kicked out around him, and he just went spinning, and then everybody else around him just starts piling up, collecting into that wreck. It was like an unavoidable checkup that everybody had, but once again, their loss is a gain for the 67. Because you know, he's gonna get loose, and then Jones in the back end.
Jones gets into that one late, but there was certainly contact, but it was after Eberhard snapped up the hill on his own, and then Jones couldn't really stay off of him there, hooked him to the left. Let's watch it from this angle. You'll watch the twitch right there. Twitches, then there might be a touch, and then Jones goes up. Wide Masters there. A couple of close calls, and there's a late bit of contact to the outside, but what a piece of driving. That was Harry Grindle who put that thing on the fence and had the C's part, but second yellow of the night, at least the third time. Someone's nearly self-spun off of turn number 2, and this time a lot more takers down on pit road as you see Wetmore, Harris, Davis, and Casto decide to stay out.
Sexton comes down for fuel only right there. That was actually a very smart move, just took tires. He didn't really aggressively drive that machine up to the front. He was able to make those positions up just by fresh tires. And, you know, Wetmore leading the race. He took, I believe he took tires there on that pit stop, wasn't very aggressive on them, kind of stayed mid-pack there, just drove it, was very solid. Cody Harris is still there. I believe he has yet to pit. So he's got an extra set of tires in the bank, hoping that this is going to be a caution fest and that everybody's going to come take all of their sets of tires. And if we get a late green-white checkered, he'll look like the genius here. So everybody trying to play Einstein pit strategies here, and me and you just get the opportunity to sit up here to diagnose it and say, hey, this is it. But hey, by the way, I think are you the fastest driver in RaceSpot? Did you lead the charge for all of us?
Well, I was assigned to Team iRacing, so I officially say that I am the undisputed fastest sim racing person from iRacing. I'm gonna get a T-shirt. We're gonna, you know, get a bronze statue, confirmed best driver at iRacing. So, yeah, that was fun. Got, you know, if you missed it, you know, just the other day here on RaceSpotTV, a lot of the commentators got into a race, and it was a lot of fun. You know, got cleaned out in the oval race, which, you know, being a NASCAR guy, that was like, you know, the one I was kind of banking on scoring some points in. Came back in that one, you know, did a couple of flips in a Pro 2 truck, Pro 2 light, had fun, and actually just about ran top 10 in the road race, which was the biggest challenge. So I don't think I'm quite ready for the full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, but it was fun.
Well, I mean, I saw the field. I saw the field that was there. I got a chance to watch. I was very sad I didn't get to actually be a part of it. But there's always the next time. And I don't know. It looked entertaining, to say the least. I do recommend people go to watch it. But I don't know, Evan. I think you do. You got some speed under your belt. But our producer in our ear said that the only reason why you finished top 10 is because he wasn't racing. So maybe we could have a little inner race spot rivalry where we try to see who the fastest person is. I didn't. So can you rub this in Blake's face on tomorrow night for Coke that you might be faster than him?
I think it's practically the same as, like, you know, making it to the second to highest ladder of Road to Pro and driving a real life late model stock is finishing P10 in the you know, the bragging rights invitation.
That's what I'm saying.
That levels out. That's perfectly balanced.
It should.
This is where I have to bring up that mandatory time where I did compete full-time in the Real Sim Racing iRock Series, and I finished second in the championship, and yeah, so close. Had a chance at Michigan, got beat on pit strategy, and that one hurts. But, you know, every once in a while it's fun to get down to business, and we'll see how much fun these drivers can have with all the pressure on them, because gonna restart this race, everybody from 4th position on back on fresh tires. Your top 3 decided to stay out, so it's going to be a big speed difference between that trio and everybody else. Wetmore, control car to the inside, has led the last 3 laps under yellow. Green flag in the air with 107 laps to go.
That was a really, really good start for the 51 machine. We'll see what the tires are going to do here. As you see Grant Davis, he jumps down to the bottom, and then you got Brandon Six. He's going to go to the outside, and he's going to make this look. He's going to make this look easy. Gary Sexton's going to go up to block. And these tires, man, they're going to get a little aggressive.
3 wide, 4 wide. Look at the move by Nick Silver. Side steps ahead of Danson while clearing the 28 of Cody Harris. And everybody's using that apron on the front straightaway to try to get a little bit extra under nose in front as they do 178 miles an hour off and into the corner that time through. Harris again on the old tires, dropping back. Wetmore and Davis had pitted on the yellow prior to this one, on the first one. So they had a little bit better than what Harris had, so they're able to stay 1 and 2, but eventually that's going to run out because here comes Brandon Bowie on the inside, first car on 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, and he's coming with a head of steam. And you see Grant Davis up to the outside. He's going to make the outside work because obviously you're carrying the most momentum and you're obviously getting the toe down the back straightaway from the 51 machine of Tom Wetmore. But eventually it's going to time itself out where you'll get a slide up the racetrack like that right there from the 51, and you'll allow the 34 to get the clean air on his nose. But interesting point, we were talking about laps down just a little earlier. Hunter Horn's now 2 down. So now this is more manageable. You have a tile, you got 100+ laps to go. You can make 2 laps up here. This might not be over, Evan. We might see the great comeback.
Long way from done is Danson looking on that innermost line, stays tucked up. That 2-car, Sam Nieto is the one who is in behind him in the Miller Ford Mustang. And speaking of which, let's go on board with him as they race off of turn number 4. Sam Nieto running inside of the top 10, not really wanting to stand out much strategy-wise, going with the flow, and now 3 wide for second as those old tires finally starting to get the best of Wetmore. It is the 1 of Sexton on the outside, and then the 66 of Brandon 6 on the fresh rubber as well. Those two going at it for second.
Yeah, these are very well-timed moves. I kind of put this in the same category as a plate track or Michigan because you have to be. Oh no! Oh no! Burke's around! No! Oh my gosh!
And Lariah got a piece. Michael Lariah got some damage, and I believe Kevin King may have had some as well. So that is contact involving several of your playoff drivers, and the first time the contact wasn't in turn 2. Let's take a look at this one. Everybody had been going to the apron, but the 2-car did not. And I think Burke was just simply expecting him to go down. Crowded the 2 a little bit. Burke gets spun, and you saw the 44 and the 31. So Lariah and King indeed did get some minor damage in that one.
Yeah, you can't ever expect what a driver's going to do, and I think right there you're right. Bradley Burke thought that Nieto was going to go down there, and we really haven't seen Nieto go down there. A couple laps ago, he stayed up there, and nobody really questioned it. So you have to be aware of what's around you, and right there, Bradley Burke just thought for sure that, hey, the 2 is just he's gonna drop down there on the apron. I'm going to be good to side draft him all the way down to the grass. No, Nieto stays there, and that's at fault there. Spotter was probably in his ear saying, hey, no, he's still there, and then he just goes around. So luckily he didn't look like he gets a whole lot of damage, and good thing for Kevin King, he won last week, so hey, you can wreck all you want.
It makes no difference to King. Of course, the damage for Burke and Lariah going to be much more consequential. Of course, Burke, the biggest driver that's going to hurt as you take a look at the live standings. Remember, he did not start last week at Darlington, so he still sat stationary at 2,000 points. And again, when you're in a position like that, whatever the circumstances were of missing 1 of 3 races in a round here, you either need to top 5 the next 2 to even have a shot, or you're going to need to win a race. And any sort of minor setback makes option B look more and more likely, especially, of course, the fact that now he's going to have a damaged race car for the rest of the night.
Yeah, and this was definitely option B time, because he's going to have to go into Bristol next week, and that's saying a lot, that you have to go into Bristol and win, because that track is just as unpredictable as any other racetrack we go to. I know we say these races are never over, that something can change. We saw it at New Hampshire, 2 tires stayed out. We saw it at Gateway, 2 tires stayed out. it could happen every week. You never know what's going to happen in these races. You could flip track position with 2 to go on a green-white checkered. 12 people pit, 12 people stay out, and you're not going to be able to climb through the field that fast to make it up with moves that aren't going to work. But going into Thunder Valley, where the last time they raced there in the next gen, it was on dirt. So you don't know what the concrete side's going to do. You don't know what the track's going to bring. It spells trouble for him because you still got Kevin King, you still got Freenage, you still got Six, who are very, very competitive on short tracks.
Very competitive, and of course that's going to be a big storyline as we close out this round of 16 next week on Monday, September the 19th from iRacing's virtual Bristol Motor Speedway for the boosted night race at Bristol. You are not going to want to miss that one. All the drivers who advance going to reset to 3,000 points on the playoff grid, and everybody else who does not advance the bottom 4 will be set to fight it out amongst each other for the best of 13th position for the rest of the season. No driver claiming responsibility for the last incident, so that one looks like it's going to be sent to a post-race review for that one to be settled. And your scheduled Connor Horn update is now minus 2 laps, Terry, and we're only 36 laps in to this race, so he may have a fighting chance still.
He had one car above him that got the free pass there. And yes, we should continuously give these updates because this is a huge story in the playoffs. I mean, this is an absolute huge story because he came in 5th and now he's fallen back outside the cut line at no fault of his own. He's had a clean race so far, and he had to start the race minus 5 laps to the field. So if he's able to come back and make this miraculous comeback happen, he's going to need a quick caution. Like, as soon as we take the green, he needs a quick caution because he's the only driver a lap down at the moment. So get a quick caution. He's 1 down, and then he can manage the race. Okay, I'm 1 down, whatever. You got a little less than 100 to go. There's a couple cautions on the horizon. I smell them.
Horn taking the opportunity to come down to the pit lane, so he's going to rush and catch up with the back of this field. Kevin King also 2 laps down now, though, so he and Horn going to have to fight it out amongst each other for the lucky dog position.
Fist fight.
They are 30th and 31st. Might come to it by the end of this one. That means the other 29 cars are still on the lead lap. Jared Widemaster is in the garage, 17 or 12 laps down, I should say. So he'll get passed up by Eric Papadow shortly, who's minus 17. Mike Kaczynski also in the garage from his incident earlier. Pace car off it in. Let's see what Brandon Bowie can do now. It's his turn to be in control of the field. 97 laps to go at Kansas.
Man, they're getting some awesome restarts here. That front row, I'm down on the bottom is where I expect all of these drivers to take when they go. I don't expect anybody to take the outside lane on a restart because the bottom lane in turns 1 and 2 has been the predominantly fast lane. But you see what Brandon Six did there. He got to clear Gary Sexton for second going into 3. That's huge because now Brandon Six, one of the faster drivers, has a clear shot to the back bumper of that 34.
You can see 3-4 wide fanning out, and only a handful of cars that time opting to actually go down and use the apron. But then it's a harsh transition when you get into the corner. So you either want to be up top or you want to be on the bottom. The middle has been a fickle line to work with tonight as the outside. Now 7 car lengths of an advantage to everybody else. Bowie and Six going to go to the inside, and the 4 car and Nick Silver going to jump up to the outside. They'll fight for second. Don't look now. Matt Danson up 22 positions. Silver up 16 in his own right. They've been racing hard, and now they're both inside of the top 5. Make it the top 3 as the 66 of 6 got loose, and he had to lift.
I tell you who I never sleep on in a race, and that's Nick Silver or Matt Danson, because they always seem to come to the front. It never fails in any of these races that the 4 and the 38 find their way to the front, regardless of where they start. You said 17 and 24 positions gained here. One, you still can't miss Matt Danson's car because it's absolutely the most colorful car in the field. But Brandon Bowie's not letting down. He knew he had to come into this race. He had to be good. He has been great. Absolutely phenomenal so far, plus 8 positions in this race, back to the race lead, and he's going to lead Nick Silver around here, who has set the fastest time of the race right there with a 31.39. So fastest driver of the race, quick lap time, is the Ford machine.
There's on board with Gary Sexton. You can see the car twitch a little bit on its way into the corner, but he's able to pick up the throttle nonetheless and has a great view of Danson clearing Nick Silver. Only for the slightest of moments, he did get all the way clear, but he'll leave the inside open. Silver going to go right back down to the bottom, and now Danson simply going to clear him again, trying bit by bit and sliver by sliver to get all the way through. And Danson finally now in sole possession of second. You look at it back at 6. You got Tice in the Valvoline number 5 entry there. Nieto, Eberhardt, Phillip, and Freenosh running inside of the top 10. So some big gains for the likes of Freenosh here tonight as they currently run. And look at this now. 3 wide in 3 different lanes. It's Bowie on the inside, Dance in the middle. It was Sexton way up top, and Danson is now hounding Bowie for the race lead, looking to the outside.
Well, that's what I love about Kansas. There's multiple grooves to run here. You can go 3 by 3 all the way through the field. You see a little bit of a bobble down there on the bottom on 34. Almost clipped the apron there, but was able to keep it off of it. That's going to allow Danson to get to the outside. He ran the middle. He's predominantly stayed there all race long, and you see the different grooves you can run here. Everybody's picking something different, and he might be able to fit another car in there, but Matt Danson gets his point for leading a lap, and I believe that is the 5th different winner, our 5th different leader in this race so far. So what I didn't expect in Kansas was a ton of race leaders. I thought we were just going to see some domination.
It has been quite a diverse field. A handful of different drivers have been able to lead laps here at Kansas. Of course, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. We'll hold that, though. Yellow flag is out. The 17 slow on the apron of the racetrack. What happened with maybe Christian Malcherik? And this is where it may have come from. And let's take a look. Malcherik running back in 22nd.
Oh, Kevin King.
Wow, Kevin King got him and hooked him. Seemingly.
No comment.
We'll watch it again, but let's see at the back of the field. Yeah, I mean, I don't think King thought he was clear because they were alongside each other. I think that's just being a little bit overly aggressive, maybe frustrated that it was involved in an accident earlier and trying to side draft. But what I will say is Christian Malcherik with a hell of a save to just spin that thing around in a 360 and keep on going. Nonetheless, the yellow is out.
Yeah, caution's out. You know who benefits off this caution, Evan? Any guesses?
Well, let's see. Matt Danson wants to come down to the pit lane, and he's bringing some friends with him. But for the, 4th time in a row now, nobody can agree on strategy. So it's kind of hard to see. I mean, we know who's going to benefit short term. We know, in the battle with Connor Horn, might get a lap back. We know that, Fresh Rubber is going to help these guys out. But as far as, the 10 playoff guys who have been fast tonight, I don't think there's more than 2 of them on the same strategy. I mean, there's so many different strategies happening that it's hard to tell who's really setting themselves up best for the long run right now.
I have lost what the strategy play is going to be. I think on lap 13, when some decided to pit and some didn't. That ship has sailed. The strategies are galore. People are pitting for fuel only to try to make it a one-stop race, and then the caution came back out. Gary Sexton came back down and pitted after he pitted there on lap 13 and took tires. So there was a lot of stuff that happened in those 10 laps, or 10 or so laps that we ran under green. But we're witnessing the greatest comeback if this happens with the 67. That's another lap back for him. So now that puts him 1 lap down in this race, and unless he gets involved in the next wreck or whatever, I would expect to see the next lap go back to him because everybody else is 2+ down. But I want to shout a couple drivers out here. to 1 of Gary Sexton, to 5 of Theus, and to Eberhardt. Eberhardt came back from that spin he had earlier in the race, where he looped it in the on the back straightaway. Theus was fast in practice. Didn't have necessarily the best outing in qualifying. Was sitting back there on the edge of the top 10. And Sexton, way to show up in your first start this season, and just, I mean, he's up here showing them, hey, I might run a broadcast company. Look at me, I'm here.
And not too shabby, of course, has been competing throughout the sim, but first opportunity after moving it off of the waitlist late in the regular season to make his first start of the season, and is doing a good job of showing up and showing out right now in the number 2 spot on track. Looking at the cars who pitted, it was a handful of notable drivers. Matt Danson, Agonal Phillip, Michael Araya, Connor Horn all in. Michael Johnson also down, Wetmore down, but they are off of the lead lap. And because King, the only other driver who was down 2 at the time, is involved in the accident, Connor Horn, as you mentioned, was able to get that lucky dog, and he is within 1 of the lead lap. And we are only just past 1/3 of the way through this race. So this could be a comeback for the ages, as you said, for Connor Horn. If this can continue, lights out on top of the pace car. We'll get set to restart this race with 49 down and 85 to go. So all those drivers top it off on fuel and trying to set themselves up for the long run late in this race. That's no longer plausible, really. Everybody's still on a one-stopper.
Yeah, I need some of them to be in my ear to help me out with strategy, because they've obviously got something figured out here. I'm still very curious. It seems like every time we have a caution, people come down and pit. I'm looking up and down my Kayla Synthetics leaderboard over here, and I see one noticeable number that popped out to me here is the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt pitted on lap 12, and that's the only pit stop that he's currently registering. Was the one pit stop where the caution was brought out because of him spinning on the back straightaway, and the other caution that's happening behind him. So could he be setting up to have an extra set of tires if we take a green-white checkered here?
Most everybody in the field has 2 to 3 sets of tires left, so let's see if the most recent drivers on pit road can charge through the field. Green flag back in the air, and it's a great jump for Brandon DeBowie on the inside. He'll be some 4 car lengths ahead in the run down to turn number 1, and Nick Silver along the inside of Sexton for P2. Almost clear, and now finally breaks through off of 2.
The turn 1, the bottom side has been the most dominant line, and hey, look, it's a little cloud cover over this racetrack, so it might tighten the cars up just a tad bit. Might lose a little bit of the balance that you had a little earlier on when you had the sun beating down on this Kansas Speedway. But outside of this track, the state of Kansas stinks. Nothing but windmills and billboards. But this track, that's a money track, boys.
And those top 2 for the first time tonight trying to pull away a little bit. The battles for 3rd behind, and 6 not clear of the 1 car. Way down to the inside to yield some space, and Sexton in a normally pretty comfortable defensive line up top, losing some spots here. You got the 2 of Sam Nieto getting into the conversation as well, and you can see those top 2, they really want to push the envelope here. They want to get away, get a gap. We have not seen your race leaders be able to pull away much at all this afternoon, and with all the action and all the fighting you see from 3rd on to back, they think now is their chance, as 6 now finally slides up and gets in front of number 1 Toyota.
Yeah, 6 made a very, very good move there to slide right in front of Gary Sexton there. Now you see the 2 of Nieto. He's working the bottom in 3 and 4. Let's see if he goes to the outside in 1 and 2. We go back here between the Battle Beaver machines, or Eberhardt's trying to fight Andrew Freenage there, and Freenage has kind of been up and down here this afternoon. He was up front for a little bit. Now he's fell back to where he started in the 9th, 10th place position range, trying to get a push from Cody Harris to go up to the front. What a rebound for Cody Harris. The last time we saw him, Evan, he was dropping like a rock through the field, and now he's working his way back up to the cusp of the top 10.
The ebbs and flows of the race here tonight at Kansas. showing strong. You know, there was one point where it was like 11 of the top 12 for all playoff drivers. Well, right now it's only 5 of the top 9. So some of those non-playoff cars, Sexton, Davis, Tice, Eberhardt, getting themselves in the middle of this strategy. Of course, Loraya trying to make himself charge back through the field on fresh rubber. So is Phillip, so is Danson. They're still all in the teens and trying to get around this roadblock right here. 3 wide and nowhere to go. Look, Phillip looks high, and Danson going to go to the inside of 4 wide. Trying to use those fresh tires. Eberhardt as well. He is clear of it all. And now Danson somehow sneaks through on the bottom. You talk about desperation. They do not want these fresh tires to go to waste. Watch that 98-94 duo, or 38-94 duo, I should say, of Danson and Phillip, because they want to use these fresh tires. Well, they've got them.
I tell you what, anybody who watches RSR every Monday night, you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to see the 38 making an aggressive move, and he's going to make it stick. He's going to scare the other competitors into moving, into giving him his way. He doesn't care one way or another what you think about him. He doesn't care how you think he races. He's going to be aggressive, and he's going to do it the right way, which is just, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's so cool to see a driver that can make moves like this. Look at him in the middle. Well, he's on the gas so much faster than everybody around him, and he knows it's going to stick. He trusts himself in those tires. He goes to the outside, just casually to the outside of Sam Nieto. You know what, a 3 wide move. Who cares?
It's just a casual 3 wide move, and Kevin King, look at the speed through the middle. Phillip now gonna follow him through. He says that this guy knows the way around, and of course they're all trying to catch up to Danson, who bettered all of them on the last couple of laps. That makes Danson kind of the flag bearer here for the drivers on fresh tires. Most impressive about all of this, of course, the fact that Kevin King is not even on the lead lap, right? Involved in the accident. He's 2 laps down, so he's just kind of hanging out, right? I mean, he's certainly a factor in it. Phillip can use certainly a bit of the draft off of him, but you kind of got to keep that in mind. Is Kevin King not fighting for position in any of this? And now Danson's gone to the race lead. King fills in second in line, and soon Agnew Phillip's going to be up to a race high P2.
Yeah, he's there, and this could be big for Kevin King in the 31 machine. Yes, he has the win from last week. It doesn't really matter if he finishes 2 laps down or if he finishes in the garage. He could have parked it after he got a little incident on the front end, but if he goes up there and he passes Matt Danson, that puts him then 1 lap down. If the caution was to come out, obviously Connor Horn would get the free pass as we stand at the moment, but if we get a car gets lapped, you know, that still puts him in a position for the free pass if something is to happen. But you talked about it a while ago with the drivers who are not in the playoffs sitting in this top 10. Well, now it's starting to become playoff drivers back to the top 10. You now have 6 top 6, and then you have 7 in the top 10, and then you got Casto who's running a race high at the moment at P11. A lot of these drivers starting to work their way to the front, starting to, you know, eat at them a little bit that they're not running where they should be, and still multi-groove track, and the sun's back out, so balance shifted from a little bit tight to a little bit loose. They're going to fight this all race long.
You can see Daniel Eberhardt, of course, won in the regular season, but did not maintain the points position he needed for that win to count. Comes into tonight at his first playoff race of the year as a non-playoff driver, looking to prove a point. Put that Battle Beaver number 94 to Mustang into victory lane, and as again didn't start in qualifying, decided to grid up at the back of the field in 32nd position, and he's right in the midst. His longtime championship foe Andrew Freenach trying to make up for some time lost. Freenach started this race in 8th with the varying strategy calls. Freenach finds himself on older tires than anybody else, 37 lap old tires. That's similar to what Brandon Six has got, what Bowie's got, what Silver's got, and again, you got 3 essentially distinct strategies trying to blend out with each other all at once, but you can see way ahead, well, those race leaders on the fresh rubber, they are pulling away some of the biggest gaps for the race leader we have seen tonight.
This is the longest green flag run that we've seen so far here this afternoon, where everybody's starting to come into their own. The battle for the lead is a second and a half. You have a lap car in between you, and Agnell Phillips using the 31 machine of Kevin King's toe to try to stay within reasons, try to gain a little bit of time and see if you can carry more speed and momentum into the corner. But Matt Danson, it looks like an absolute genius. If this thing stays green, he can use this massive lead to his advantage. Wait till one of the drivers like Brandon Bowie or Nick Silver or Cody Harris come down and pit, and then pit the lap after him. You're not going to give up a ton of time. You're just going to give up maybe a second, maybe a second and a half. It's 3 seconds. You still carry a second and a half. Then you use those lap pressure tires to go put down some money laps and hold on to it. But he's gaining on Phillip. He's gaining on Bowie. He's gaining on Harris. And this field now, when it was all together, now just looks like a single piano out here.
It is maybe the first, ironically enough, with all the varying strategies in play, first bit of uniformity tonight as drivers have kind of gotten to a point where, listen, that guy's got 12 lap better tires than me. I can't pass him, but I've got 12 lap better tires than the guy behind me, so I'm pretty comfortable. You still have this area here where, drivers on mixed strategies still trying to blend themselves out, but some of the biggest intervals throughout the field tonight we have seen, as there are 27 cars still on the lead lap, and a lot of them are ringing up on the outside. Sexton on the outside, Schmidt up there as well. Haven't talked much about that 79 car. Schmidt started 22nd. He is just on the verge of, trying to crack into the top 10, but Freenosh passes him up, so Freenosh to defend P12 for the moment. And actually a little bit surprised how many drivers on the bottom early in this race. Everybody was up top, and it was the occasional car on the bottom. It seems like more drivers preferring the inside line, certainly in 1 and 2, maybe 3 and 4 are a little bit of a more mixed bag.
Yeah, this race changes, right? It's kind of been like this all week long. If you run the bottom for a certain amount of time, you start to chew up the right front of the tire. If you run the outside, you get a little bit of more of an even balance on the race car. The tires, you start. I said this analogy on one of the broadcasts I did earlier last month when I said, you want to drive with all 4 tires. You don't want to just drive off of 1 tire. Most people think, okay, well, if I burn the right front off, I'm done. Well, you can even that out if you run different lanes. Here, Charlotte, Texas, places like that, you can kind of search around a little bit. Old Texas, new Texas sucks. But old Texas, you could kind of fan it out. You could run multiple grooves. You could save the tires. Here's the same way. You run the bottom. Well, run the bottom for 5 laps, run the middle for 5 laps, run the outside for 5 laps. You start to get an even balance. You get to drive off the right rear, the right front. You kind of get to play with the tires a tad bit.
And with that, we have now crossed the halfway point in tonight's Kansas 200. So let's take a look at where all your favorite drivers are running with a look at our KaylaSynthetics.com midway race break. 69 laps in, and Matt Danson has a, right now, a 1.5 second lead over Agnell Phillip in second. Of course, they are on the freshest of tires in the field, having pitted on the most recent yellow 22 laps ago, and they are first and second. Brandon Bowie, though, has been doing a great job on 40-lap old tires to sit 30s ahead of Cody Harris in fourth, and then the first non-playoff driver, the 8 car right there, Kyle Kamer. He's currently scored in now number 4 position ahead of Harris, P5. Nick Silver then the number 4 right there in the battle. He's P6. Brandon 6 is running in 7th. Bradley Burke runs at 8th. And Sean Casto, not too far back either, sits in P9. Then it's about a second and change back to Andrew Freenosh, who rounds out your top 10.
So you look at Daniel Eberhardt back there in the 11th place position with Raleigh Grant Davis sitting in 12th right on his back bumper. Sam Nieto, Ross Cato, 13th and 14th, 2 playoff drivers. William Schmidt climbing through the field with Gary Sexton right behind him in 17th. Harry Gradell doing a great job sitting up here in the 17th position with Dylan Jones, who was our second caution of the night, with Brian Chambliss and Brandon Fetterplace rounding out your top 20.
And continuing on through 21st is Michael Araya with a lot of work to do on fresh tires. Of course, damage affecting his car. Chris Rabel behind, involved in an accident earlier, rides in 22nd. James Ross sits in 23rd. Christian Malcherik got spun a little bit earlier tonight, and he's 24th. And Joseph Tice right there as well, P25. Sean Kalis is back in 26th. Tom Morano hanging out as the last car on the lead lap right now into position number 27. And then one lap down, Connor Horn needs one more wave by to get back into this. He's in the lucky dog spot should there be an incident. Kevin King is 2 laps down behind him in 29th position, and Michael Johnson finds himself -7 in 30th. That is not good news for him. Of course, Eric Papineau just now getting passed for 31st, so Tom Wetmore, another one of your playoff drivers, back in 31st. Papineau is 32nd, and then Winemaster 33rd, Kaczynski 34th. Those drivers to the garage early in this one. That's a look top to bottom at your KaylaSynthetics.com midway race break. Kayla Synthetics is an independent dealer of AMSOIL lubricants serving the United States and Canada, providing custom engine lubrication solutions to all types of customers, from private individuals to race teams, hauling fleets, and everything in between. They have the products and expertise you need to save time and money. Dealer number 3007185. So my big takeaway there is the struggles of particular playoff cars. I mean, most of them are in the top 15, but the few that aren't are really struggling, Terry. I mean, Michael Araya, 21st position, involved in an accident, dealing with a little bit of damage, but it's Connor Horn, 27th, Michael Johnson, 30th, and Tom Wetmore, 31st, and right now are having the kind of night that you cannot afford if you want to advance to the round of 12.
No, and especially with Bristol on the horizon, I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, you make a big deal that it's Bristol. Yeah, it's Bristol, and it's Thunder Valley for a reason. You don't want to go there behind 13th through 16th. That's not where you want to set yourself up for success. You want to set yourself up for success, not failure going in there, because one wrong move, one small little bit of contact on the exit of turn 2 or the exit of turn 4, your race is over, because there's a concrete wall coming into pit road, and there's a concrete wall right there. You have like a 10-inch margin if you get sideways there to not hit anything. There's not very many people that spin at Bristol Motor Speedway and don't hit a wall. And you just don't want to be the one that hits the wall.
And you see the live point standings as we watch the battle for 6th between Cody Harris and Brandon 6. The names that I mentioned, right? Wetmore, 31st on track. He's below the cut line, -7 right now. Johnson, 30th on track. He's below the cut line by 1 single point to Casto. And of course, Connor Horn below the cut line, or above the cut line, I should say, but down in 27th position. Remember, he was a P5 car in the points coming into tonight. All of a sudden, he is only a single-digit margin above that cut. Remember, after next week's race at Bristol, your top 12 will advance. Those bottom 4 will be sent home. But if Bradley Burke can continue this good night, P8, he has done a real good job of kind of knocking out that missed week. I mean, he's still down, right? But he's not down and out. And I mentioned it earlier, right? If you miss a race like he did at Darlington, you basically got to get 2 top 5s. And I think that tracks, because right now he's still 10 points out, but at least in striking distance now, with a few points still up for grabs if he can continue to move up through the field here tonight.
Yeah, race is far from over. Things have yet to shake out. We've seen some untimely cautions. We've seen some very timely cautions. We've seen playoff drivers get involved in accidents, and you never know what's going to happen. You could run out of fuel, like what we saw with Carson Hocevar in the truck race on Friday night, where he thought he was a shoo-in to win the race. He thought he was going to win it, runs out of gas, had no chance, gets out of a playoff spot. Something could happen here. These 3 wide moves, we've seen them get loose off the corners. They could take 3 playoff drivers out in a row, because look at them all right here in a line. The dominoes could fall hard on a lot of these drivers if one mistake is made.
And that is Harris up on the outside line in P6. Hasn't led a lap so far tonight, but he's been in the conversation throughout after starting this race from the outside of the front row earlier. Of course, Brandon Six has a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He comes into tonight, looking to prove a point. For most of this year, he was the clear-cut favorite. He would go on to win the regular season championship, but Kevin King surpassed him in race wins on the year last week. And Six still in a very comfortable points position, but I think just for a little bit of confidence would love to get a top three, even fight for a race win here. But of course, remember, all the cars we're looking at anywhere from 12 to 22 lap older tires than the cars up front. Remember, Dan Phillip pitted on the most recent yellow. Not everybody else did, and that's why those intervals on that Kayla Synthetics leaderboard are so massive. It is really two fights. There's the battle for first and second, and then there's the battle for third on to back. You just can't compete on the old tires, and that's why it was such a huge margin.
Yeah, I mean, we swapped the timing screen to what is ahead of you, and from Six all the way, or from Bowie all the way down, you see Bowie's got a little bit of a separation there because Six and Silver are starting to fight a little bit side by side. But other than that, I mean, they're within striking distance. They're within one bobble of each other to make a move happen. And that's part of the reason that you can't make a mistake here, because if you're Nick Silver and you slide off the corner and you collect Cody Harris, you collect Bradley Berg, Freenage, one of those drivers, well, that race is ruined. That race is gone with 52 laps to go. And I mean, it's super tight around the cut line. It's super tight on the racetrack. This is going to come down to, I believe we're done with cautions. I hate to say that for Connor Horn's sake, but I think we're done caution-wise. This is going to come down to strategy at the end.
That is a bold man to say it out loud. We'll see how the final 51 laps of this race play out. We are undisputed on the longest green flag run of the night. We had been averaging about a yellow every 10 laps. Cautions on 11, 23, 32, and 45 tonight, but green since then. And everybody, again, at a point where they would need to pit at least one additional time to get to the end of the race. They are within the fuel window to get there. We've seen Eberhardt pit. We've seen Tice pit. But I think we're going to wait probably an extra 10 before, or even 5 to 10, I'd say, maybe a little bit shorter, before the bulk of the field wants to make that decision.
Yeah, and if you're Matt Danson or Agnell Phillip, the moment you see Bowie, Six, Silver, or Harris pit, your butt's coming to pit road. I don't care what your stats say or what your mind's thinking. You have to come to pit road, because while they are 5-6 seconds back, if you wait 5, 6, 7 laps to come down and pit and you think, okay, I'm at the advantage, no, you're at the mercy of them, because they are going to take the undisputed lead at that moment. They're going to go up there and cut it up, and you can't count that there won't be a caution. So you have to play the strategy based off the drivers behind you and hope that you don't pull the wrong strategy. You don't pull the trigger at the wrong time, because then your perfect strategy that you had in your head then becomes a very bad strategy, because all of those cars around you have been faster than you on fresh tires, on the same tires. So Danson and Phillip better hope that this thing stays green, because if we get a caution and bunch them back up, they're going to drop back down to where they were at.
And even with this long run, when you find cars on equal tires, just look how equal they are. I mean, group of 5 cars here under a blanket, so it is hard for drivers, minus the strategy calls, to be able to separate themselves on these runs. And Andrew Freenage from position number 12 says he is coming down. He was last in 62 laps ago. There are 47 laps in this race, a little bit of a lockup as he gets down to pit road speed of 65 miles an hour. And now that you've had a top 15 to playoff car make that decision, when does anybody else decide to come down pit road?
I'm still, if I'm Agnell Phillip or I'm Matt Danson, I'm waiting until 6, Bowie, Silver, Harris, and I'll throw Burke in there or Nieto. I'll throw one of those drivers in that mix. You want the top 7, top 8 to come down, because they're the most close-knit drivers. Yes, he was sitting 12th. I get that with Freenage, but he wasn't in that range. He wasn't there 5.5, 6 seconds off of you at that time. So yes, I want to see 3rd through 8th come down pit lane before I pull that one and I come down. But this is going to be a cat and mouse game. Somebody's going to fake it here in a second and come down and think they're coming and they're not. To try to pull some people down pit road. But there's Sean Kalis out of 20th. He's on pit road. James Ross is on pit road as well. Some of the back end of the field starting to work their way in.
And the gamble, of course, by going for that early pit stop, as well as the fact that you go off of the lead lap, right? Friedrich a lap down. If a yellow were to come out now, he'd be trapped. Of course, he'd likely be able to wave himself around, but you would still lose all your track position because you would simply go to the rear of the field and you'd be on older tires than anybody else. So that's another thing, right? You're going to spend about 41 seconds on pit road itself, plus time speeded up and slowing down. You're giving away about a lap and a half. So that is another deterrent for drivers to not want to pit so early, as we see Harris is in, Cato is down pit road, Dylan Jones in too, but a pair of playoff drivers come in again. Still not those power 5, those power 6, but again you're digging it deeper. Trying to combine words, why don't we? You're digging deeper into the top 10, right? It was Friedrich from 12th. Now it's Cars 11th and 10th, and that's only going to continue. Michael Araya says he wants to come down pit road. Fetter Place also going to be coming in. Those drivers, though, further down the leaderboard.
All right, there goes Nick Silver. There goes Nieto. Now, if I'm 6, Bowie, Burt, you have to pit. You cannot stay out any more than what you're doing. If you go one more lap, okay, Nick Silver kind of caught you off guard. He said late, hey, I'm coming down pit road a little later than what you would have expected. So now you need to come in. This is your time to come on right now. You don't want to give up the laps. You don't want to give up the time. You don't want to give up the track position that you're going to lose if this stays green. To a Nick Silver, to a Nieto, to a Casto. One of those drivers could jump up and hold it out there. But I wouldn't be surprised also if Kamer, Grant, Smith, Chambliss, Smallcheck, or Eberhardt decides to stay out a little later, praying for the caution to come out if 1 through 5 pit, to maybe keep that track position, trap those playoff drivers a lap down, and almost guarantee us that a non-playoff driver could win this race.
Something, every action has an equal, or if not, more significant reaction. If you have drivers pit early, you're always going to have drivers want to pit late and try to amplify the risks of the early pit stops for those others, as Brandon Bowie is down pit road. So he will give up what was the number 9 position last time by the start-finish line. Again, nobody has run out of tires. In fact, I think almost everybody is still going to have an additional set in the back pocket even after this pit cycle, should we have a little bit of late race excitement. So that is not a concern. Drivers have done a good job across those varying strategies at managing tires tonight. And Danson and Phillips at advantage over P3. Kyle Kamer now 9 seconds. You can see how long they've been on this stint, right? So Brandon 6 is your net cycle leader, right? Just having come onto the pit lane, but that's going to drop off time as he drops into the box now, actually gets his service completed. So you're looking at Friedrich, right? One of the first drivers in. I don't know if he's going to cycle ahead of Phillip and Danson, just because, there was an 8-second gap. But if he does, you're getting the track position now. And then when those drivers pit later, then they're going to have the better tires, right? All that time that you gained and they lost is going to start to swing back the other direction. And that's why these calls aren't as clear-cut as we may think sometimes, as Chambliss comes down now from the top 10.
It's never easy when it comes to strategy. It's not something that's necessarily in the ballpark for me to think, okay, if I stay out 5 extra laps, you don't think of it as laps. You're thinking of it as seconds. You're thinking of it as the time delta that you're seeing here on the Kayla Synthetic leaderboard. You look at Friedrich. At one point in time, Evan, he was sitting about 9 seconds back. It is now 6 seconds up. So every time you see that board start to tick down a little bit more, he goes 6.3, 6.2. I mean, he is gaining almost a second a lap. And you look at his lap time when he come across the field. It was a 31.7 when he crossed the line on the last lap. And I am scoring this from one previous. It was a 33.6. So he was 2 seconds faster a lap than Matt Danson. He was almost 2.5 seconds faster than Agnell Phillip. So he's gaining that time. So yes, 8 seconds was what he was back on the initial jump. he has gained that back because we're 4, 5, 6 laps that he pitted, and he's going to jump him. He's not going to jump him by much, but he's going to jump him at some point in time.
And with Agnel Phillip now on pit road, you just saw his stint number reset to 0. He is in from second. This is a fun battle between the two of them because Danson had pulled to about a 2-second advantage over Agnel Phillip. Agnel's going to get a real quick jolt of nearly 2 seconds faster per lap on the fresh rubber. I think Danson's going to have to respond here, but Danson's sticking with his guns, not coming in. And, you know, there's two things to watch, right? There's the battle between, you know, where does everybody else who pitted earlier cycle out in relation to Danson and Phillip, but also I think Agnel Phillip's going to leapfrog Danson, and Danson's going to have to chase him back down because Agnel undercut him.
Well, you got two options. Are you going to stand up like Ronda Rousey, which you should over Misha Tate in the UFC, or are you going to buckle like Adrian Peterson's legs when he got knocked out in the boxing fight the other day? Right now, you see that Freenage jumped. I mean, he literally jumped the 94 of Agnel Phillip. He falls all the way down to 12th. Freenage up to 4th. Here comes Matt Danson. So you can almost guarantee that Freenage, Harris, Silver are going to leapfrog this 38 machine here, put themselves in a position that if a caution is to come out, are they going to be the ones that look pretty? Or is it going to stay green and Matt Danson and Agnel Phillip are going to look the prettiest? It's going to be a cat and mouse game on does the caution come out or does it not? If we stay green, man, I mean, I would say you could almost lock this one. It could end up in a drag race.
And as Agnel Phillip rounds the tri-oval, Danson on the apron, and look to your right-hand side, there goes Agnel Phillip, and it is a huge margin between the two of them, just a 2-lap difference. And Agnel Phillip is going to be way ahead of Matt Danson. Now again, Danson going to have a little bit better tires, but man, did that really work out well for Phillip. Now he's 10th though, right? He's got to pass all those cars that undercut him. We are still waiting on Kyle Kamer to come down to the pit lane. He was lasted 56 laps ago. He cannot get to the end of the race. Neither can Connor Horn. Neither can Kevin King. Those drivers are 17th and 24th and on in the conversation. So you're really looking at Daniel Eberhard on back.
Okay, so I want to point this one out. Agnel Phillip's last lap, 31.49. We'll see what Matt Danson does when he crosses the line for his first actual hot lap here. Agnel Phillip will cross the line again. He's going to put a 31.7 on the board. So Matt Danson put a 31.44 up. So he was faster on his out lap compared to Agnel Phillip. But I talked about the time delta. I'm not judging this by laps. I don't care if you were 10 laps later pitting or whatever. I'm gauging this as seconds. You are gaining 2 seconds a lap compared to your competition when you pit which way or the other. That 2 laps was 4 seconds that he lost on there. So it came out perfectly right of 2 seconds behind Agnel Phillip. But Matt Danson puts a 31.3 down, so he's using the draft to work his way back up here. And by the way, your leaders up here, the ones who will be your net leaders when all of this comes out, is almost a second slower than the drivers who just came back down. So this race is very much far from over, and these playoff standings are about to jump.
They are going to continue to shuffle right now. Johnson over Cato by 1 for the transfer spot. That's going to change as these drivers on the fresher tires start to make up for some of the ground lost from the short pitters. And again, that's going to be a fluid picture for the rest of the 29 laps remaining in this Kansas 200. Again, Eberhard likely staying out to try to catch a yellow in this one, but he's already gotten passed up by cars who have pitted. He can only go for so much longer, and that has put Kyle Kamer now to the race lead. I should say, sorry, Kamer the one trying to stay out to catch a yellow. Eberhard and Freenage battling in a fight for second position right now, but again, I still think this comes down to Danson, and it comes down to Phillip. And talking about their lap times, I mean, no slouch for Matt Danson. He is going hard, but last lap for Danson, 31.6. It was a 31.8 for Phillip, so 2/10 in Danson's favor. I mean, he's only a second and a half back, so again, he'll definitely get to him, I think, over the course of this run, but Danson's working hard, passing other cars 2-0, and that's where this gets complicated because, you know, it's not like there's no one in between them is what I'm trying to say, right? If there was no one there, it's easy, right, Terry? It's 2/10, 3/10, do the math. 5 laps, he's there. But Danson's working to pass cars. He's got the 4. He's got Harris there. Making those passes is going to make him use his tires more. And Agnew Phillip is really hoping that those guys give him grief, but I don't think they have much for Danson here. He's making it look quite easy on the outside.
Yeah, he's passing 2 guys that are no slouches in this series. I mean, Cody Harris and Nick Silver have been some of the fastest drivers here, but he blew by them. He got underneath them, took him 3 wide. He didn't really care what he had to do, but Agnew Phillip takes the overall race lead. So this is big, but you see him in the distance right there behind the 88 of Freenosh. He's going to use that draft to catch up to the back bumper of him, and this is no slouch to pass either. While he is on older tires, he'll go to the bottom. Danson will make that pass look rather easy as well, and now it's game on. There are no drivers in between them, so now it's I got to gain a 10th. I got to gain 2/10 of a second. He laid the fastest lap of the race in that whole cycle of a 31.26. I mean, he is flying here this afternoon. But can Danson make the pass on Agnew Phillip, who, yeah, I mean, he's fast.
It's impressive that 2-lap difference for Agnew Phillip allowed him to get such a huge net gain on Danson, while also just those 2 laps have allowed Danson to be this much faster, trying to chase him back down. Again, Kamer still needs to pit. It's the battle for second, but it is almost undoubtedly the battle for what'll be the race win. Danson on the apron, Phillip gonna try to hold the bottom. How much grief does the 94 want to give Danson? Parks it right in the middle of the racetrack in 1 and 2. Danson now gets underneath, and side by side, Danson under Phillip. The 94 is fast, but Danson faster, and he is clear in turn 3.
That's pure tires, because and a Kamer comes down and pits, so the overall race lead goes back to Matt Danson, but that's the tire advantage. I think if we even these 2 out and we put them both on equal footing, equal tires here, I would take Agnew Phillip in a head-to-head fight. No disrespect to Danson. While he does have the win in a track that's very similar to this in Michigan, I still feel that Agnew Phillip is the more experienced driver on the ovals. And like I said, I'm not taking any credit away from the 38. We noticeably noticed him on the road courses, but he did get the breakout win at Michigan, and this track is similar, and strategy played somewhat well on his side, and he did it right. But if we get the caution and we go side by side here for the race lead, I'm taking the 94 here. I think the 94 has a little bit more of just know-withal of what you have to do to win one of these things.
They are both very successful drivers, both race winners in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. Of course, Danson doing it many a time on the road courses, which is what he has quickly been known for. An 8-time race winner overall. Of course, Agnew Phillip, a 3-time race winner, but Phillip has the edge when it comes to, the success on the ovals. But you know, when Danson got that monkey off his back in Michigan, it felt like it was going to be a game changer, and what a big win this would be. And not only that battle for the race win, but look at all of this excitement for 4th on back. There are a lot of playoff points on the line here. The 66, a 6 to the apron. It is Freenosh slotting up in front of Cody Harris, and a lapped car sneaking through the middle there as the 8 machine of Kyle Kamer on fresh rubber says, "Excuse me, guys, enjoy the fight, but please do it behind me."
Hell, I thought that was going to be the caution there for a second. You start to see 4 wide on the front straightaway there. You typically see a car going in the infield there. Not to the casino. That's a little bit over in the distance, but I mean, that would be fun too. We'll see who gambled the right way, who hit red, who hit black. We don't know. We know that some of our playoff drivers obviously didn't strike it big, who are back there in the tail end of this field, but who struck gold so far. The 38 of Matt Danson. I'm not surprised to see him running good. You talked about the monkey off of his back there, Evan. Maybe this could be the second win that he gets on an oval, and who knows, he could go to Bristol and surprise everybody and go home and win that thing. But I look at the leaderboard over here. Castro's done a good job of coming back. He's up 15 positions in the 9th place position. That is huge for him in his playoff bid here this afternoon. But I'm also surprised with what happened to Tom Wetmore. I'm surprised at Kevin King. I didn't think he would run back there in the back for long to even be caught up in an incident, but there he finds himself.
He is in that spot. Wetmore has mentioned on many occasions, trying to have a breakthrough here, as at times had a really good race car, but just not his night here this afternoon. The lowest playoff runner in the field. Of course, Connor Horn is yet to get that one extra yellow he needed to get back on the lead lap. But in fact, he's no longer in the lucky dog spot. So that seemingly improbable march back from -5 may remain. Simply that, improbable and unlikely to happen late in this race, as we are now at 15 laps to go, 16 laps to go, should say, for Matt Danson up at the front of the field, pulling to 0.8 of a second over Agado Phillips, so comfortably gaining a little bit by little bit. Sam Nieto going to clear the non-playoff competitor Dylan Jones there, and Andrew Freinosh going to duke it out with Brandon Bowie in a fight for 6th and 7th. Bowie cleared him. Freinosh crossed it right back over to the inside.
And Brandon Bowie has a little bit fresher tires, pitted on lap 93. Freinosh pitted on lap 87, and Freinosh led a lap for a little bit, was able to hold the race lead until he got past Diagonal Phillip, and he's fell back quite a bit, but still running in the top 10. I think that's the more noticeable side of it is, yes, he pitted early. He was one of the first drivers to come down, but he's still able to fight. He's still able to put a little bit under him. But Brandon Bowie's not going to go down without a fight. Crossover there into turn at number 3, and it's going to allow the 34 to get back below him. And now you got Cato coming into the picture. How big for Cato if he can get a 2-for-1 special here?
Be all about efficiency. It'd be nice to get the job done and try to close this one out late in the end as you go on board with Cato. Close it in on Freinosh and Bowie. And hopefully the aggressive nature is a little bit of a twitch there from Bowie off of 2. Again, we've seen that happen so many times, that late brake snap as the car gets unsettled on corner exit. Almost caught out Bowie there. It did not in the end, and Freinosh is going to use the outside to clear him in the run to 1. And now Cato's got to step up. What do you want to do? You want to make a move? You want to wait? He'll choose the latter. And now maybe looking to the outside of the 34. Yes, he is.
Yeah, for Cato here, just bide your time. Just be patient. Just sit back here, bide your time. You don't have to push it early. You don't have to just go out here and put blistering laps down. You can just sit here and watch for a second. Let them burn their stuff up. You see that slide right there from Brandon Bowie. That takes some life off those tires. And once you get down to maybe about 3-4 laps to go, you'll start to see these cars get a little sideways in the back. You'll see the rear end step out just a little bit, do a little do-si-do on this racetrack. But the 12's just been smooth. All race long has just bided his time. It has just been consistent. And I think right here in the first round, that's the only thing you need to be. You don't need to be spectacular. You don't have to go out here and lead every lap and win every race. You just have to be consistent. Top 10, top 5. That's all you need. But once you get later in the season, you get to the round of 8. You dang near has to win. You have to be top 5 every race. You can't bounce on a top 10, or you have to hope for a lot of bad luck for your competition.
Yeah, this is that. And there it nearly was for Cato.
Oh my
Loose
gosh.
off of 2, the old tires nearly caught out Bowie, and it almost caught out Cato there. And I wonder if that blunder is going to give enough of a gap to the 34 into the 88 to mean that Cato can't get to them. Also, the fight for 4th still ongoing. You've seen those names swap on the Kayla Synthetics leaderboard recently. Nick Silver and Cody Harris trying to chase each other down. The 37 of Eric Papadow there is not in this battle for position. He is 30th, minus 18 laps. And he's in the fence ahead of these guys, so watch out. They're going to squeak by on the bottom. And that 4 car can't bring it all the way off of the corner. That lap machine maybe ever so slightly hindering Silver and taking away his ability to exit how he wanted. Although now Harris side by side on entry means Harris can't enter how he would want. So I think it all balances out in the end. But P4 and 5 still far from undecided.
We remember what we talked about last week at Darlington, where you don't want to catch a lap car or a slower car at the wrong time, and it almost ultimately affected the way the race ended when it came to lap traffic. Here's about the same way. If you start on the bottom and you're running the low lane all the way around 1 and 2 or 3 and 4, and you come off the exit of the corner and you can't mash the gas, you can't allow the car to rotate as much as you want it to and slide back up the racetrack. Well, here is the same way. You break a ton of momentum in these next-gen cars just by not being able to map the gas back off, as you see side by side here between the 90 and the 29. These 2 drivers battling for the 14th, 13th position now. So Chris Rabel doing a good job kicking back from an early incident. Same thing for Eberhard. I believe they were involved in the same caution.
Ironically enough, as you see Rabel slide up and clear Eberhard for the moment. Now Crossy to back over down to the inside. Talk about a spirited battle for 13th and 14th. And these laps are so slow and so long. Danson just begging, I'm sure, to see the white flag, and probably isn't a fan of all of the action happening on throughout the racetrack.
No, I'm sure he's not. I don't think any race leader has ever been excited to hear, hey, they're side by side back here for the 13th position, and they're sideways. They're losing control a little bit in these cars. you don't want that to happen. I mean, last week we almost spoke a caution into existence, and right there it looked like an issue for the 90 of Eberhard, where it looked like a little puff of smoke came out underneath the car. He got a little loose, was wiggling it back and forth. Kind of looks similar to what we saw with Andrew Freenach last week, where he went hard into the wall with a couple laps to go. But something's going on with a lot of these cars, because I'm skipping around through the field, and I'm kind of watching drivers just getting tight, but then they get really, really loose on the next corner, as you see side by side back here between Cato and Bowie.
Cato and Bowie going at it, the ongoing fight for 7th and 8th position, and make it a 3-way battle because Sam Nieto has arrived on the scene as well. Not wanting to force it 3 wide for the moment, stays and waits, but as that 12 machine Cato pushed up the hill, Nieto tried to get underneath and into the outside wall is Brandon and Bowie in contact with the 2. They both met in the middle, door slamming in the fight for 7th. And the 2 machine and Nieto gets himself clear. Cato the big winner in the end, and that could have turned disastrous.
And it's not what the 38 wants to see, and if he's watching the broadcast or listening to it, when we said, oh, he probably thought, crap, caution's coming. But no, that's 2 drivers fighting for the same real estate. That's playoff drivers wanting every little bit that they can get. Once again, you don't want to go into Bristol in a must-win or a position that you have to run well. You see the playoff cut line. It is 1 point, 2 points to Casto, 7 points to Wetmore. That's, between the distance of 5th and 12th. So if you have a semi-decent night at Bristol, and then the other driver has a fantastic night at Bristol, you could find yourself outside.
You could, and we talked about the possibility of a spoiler tonight. Tonight is not a night for the spoilers. Playoff drivers running 1st through 11th in the closing moments at Kansas as Matt Danson comes off of 4, white flag in the air, 1 to go.
What an impressive drive. I mean, he came down, he pitted early. He pitted earlier than any other driver with Agnell Phillip. He allowed the race to come to him. You talked about strategy, which one was going to work. Well, the 38 and the 94 have done the strategy perfectly and down the back straightaway for the final time.
They blitz the field for sure. They're going to win it by more than 9/10 of a second. But Danson's journey, having struggled to find a victory on an oval, has now won 2 of the last 5 oval races. Danson wins at Kansas and joins Kevin King in the round of 12.
I mean, you called it right. And an all-out blitz is what they ran, and predictions stayed good on my end. So I'm 1 for 12 here so far. Small cheers for me in the back, and Dylan Jones having a little fun in the grass there sliding. But hey, the caution is not what anybody wanted, and they didn't get it, and they come running out there.
Brian Chambliss is on pit road coming to the end of this race. Is he going to be giving up positions by doing so? Because that was lap 134 for Chambliss, so Lariah may score a bonus point. I wonder if Chambliss had run out of fuel, possibly. Nonetheless, celebrating on the front straightaway is Matt Danson, as he is yet again a race winner here at the Kansas Speedway. Checkered flag number 5 for Danson. No shock, the 2 drivers who have won in the postseason and who are into the round of 12 are your 2 5-time winners this year. Let's take a look at your Kayla Synthetics full race results tonight. Danson leads Agnell Phillip. Again, those 2 drivers nailed the pit strategy call. They took the 4 when their crystal ball told them that it was going to be that long 90-lap green flag run to the end of the race, and they are way out in front of Brandon 6, who comes home in 3rd. We'll try to talk with all of them in just a few moments. Nick Silver and Cody Harris get top 5s. It's a big night for Andrew Freenosh, Ross Cato, Sam Nieto, Brandon DeBuey, and Sean Casto. It's an all playoff driver top 10.
Yeah, playoff drivers starting off P11 there with Bradley Burke for Flat Out Motorsports, with Dylan Jones in 12th. Chris Rabel, after the early incident, comes back to a 13th place position. Michael Araya, a good top 15 position with a little help from the teammate there for the 1 extra point. In 14th, Harry Grindell. 15th, Kyle Kamer was hoping for the caution, ended up getting his lap back, going to 16th. Brandon Fetter placed in 17th. Brian Chambliss in 18th, Joseph Tice, who was fast in practice, rounds out in 19th, and James Ross rounds out to top 20.
A couple of playoff drivers, though, don't find the success that they wanted tonight. Connor Horn finishes 22nd. Kevin King doesn't matter, but a tough go for the team, as both he and Eberhard 25th and 26th. Michael Johnson finishes 28th tonight. Tom Wetmore is the lowest of your playoff drivers, with Roadhouse Motorsports in 30th. And, of course, Sexton, Morano, Widemaster, Kaczynski unable to make it to the scheduled distance. So look top to bottom at your Kayla Synthetics full race results. Kayla Synthetics is an independent dealer of AMSOIL lubricants serving the United States and Canada, providing custom engine lubrication solutions to all types of customers, from private individuals to race teams, hauling fleets, and everything in between. They have the products and expertise to help you save time and money. Dealer number 300-718-15. Still waiting, I believe, on our race winner, Matt Danson, to join us. So let's go reverse order. Let's talk with Brandon 6 first. He comes home a 3rd tonight. It's a solid points night. Terry, you're with him.
Hey, Brandon 6 in that beautiful machine there in the 66. You come home P3 here this afternoon, and, well, was you praying for a caution at the end? Yeah. Now we got him. Yeah, what's up, Brandon? Awkward moments for broadcaster guy.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. You got us, Brandon?
I do. How's it going, fellas?
It's going good. I'll ask my fantastic question again. So you finished P3. Were you praying for a caution?
Yeah, I needed a caution like many laps ago. I actually feel like I had the car to beat tonight if I was on the same tires as Danson and Agnell, but obviously we'll never know.
Well, we'll never know, but you set yourself up for a good position, a good playoff position going into Bristol. Strength or weakness going into Thunder Valley? Can you go out there and whip up on them and get another win?
I hope so. Bristol's actually a really good track for me, both dirt and the pavement. So obviously we ran on the dirt earlier this year and I won that. So hopefully I can follow up with another win at Bristol.
Well, you know, normally when a guy of your stature comes in here and says you're good at that racetrack, I'm very inclined to pick you. So if I pick you to win next week, you're gonna let me down, and you're gonna boost me up here.
No, you're probably gonna just jinx me.
I'm not gonna pick you then, Brandon 6. I will not pick the 66. All right, brother. Well, thank your sponsors, everybody that puts this this beautiful machine out here on the racetrack.
Yeah, I gotta thank the Mamacita Foundation. Still running that from our Foundation Week, and I'll be running that for the end of the playoffs. I gotta thank Keeping It Real and Owa Designs and Max Graphics.
Well, Brandon 6, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and we hope that we're talking to you next week. I'm not going to jinx you and pick you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Evan, that's Brandon 6, your P3 finisher here tonight.
He gets a good result in this one, but it was some 7 seconds behind the driver who finished P2. Let's continue that move up the podium. You're with Agnell Phillip.
Yo, Agnell Phillip, what's happening?
Hey, Terry, how's it going?
You know, it's always good talking to you in that 94 machine, but you pitted it 2 laps sooner than Matt Danson, and you virtually had a 2-second lead there. Did the tires catch up to you, or was just Danson just that fast?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the final kind of distance, it kind of resolved back out to where it was before we stopped. So, yeah, I think that was, you know, Kevin and I were pretty, not Kevin, sorry, Matt and I, Kevin was last week, remembering all the people I'm finishing P2, or mixing them up too. But Matt and I were pretty evenly matched up there, I think, long run, and you know, I thought I was saving pretty good on that first run behind him, and I had to throw something at him to see what happened. If I kept waiting for him to pit, eventually we just wouldn't have enough time left in the race to do anything with it. So yeah, I mean, you know, I think Matt was clearly very fast, and he was making that kind of middle line work really well for him. But yeah, at the end there, I think, you know, tires were playing a big role into it. And, you know, I threw a dart at the wall and thought maybe clean air would help me stay in front of him, and it didn't. And, you know, that it's not unexpected, but you know, we'll move on to Bristol.
All right, walk me through your crystal ball, because you had 2 options. You could have not pitted there on lap 46, and you could have pitted a little bit later and attempted, or a little earlier, and just whatever. But did you use the crystal ball from the Wizard of Oz to tell you that this race is going to go green to the end from lap 46, and that you and Matt Danson were going to pull out to a 7 to 9 second lead on this field and keep it green to the end? That was a bold move, Cotton, but you made it work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought we were not in really good shape there pitting, because usually, especially when you have track position, you just kind of want to pit when everybody else does, you know. So, you know, we made the call, and I just was following, you know, are we close to splitting up this race into even segments? And we were a little ahead of schedule, so if we had a caution in like 10-15 laps, it would have gotten a little bit dicey there. But you know, it wasn't anything special. This league, you know, eventually we're gonna go green typically, especially, you know, later in the season. So you know, not a big part, but, you know, part of these races sometimes is catching the caution, coming down, getting your tires before that long run, and that's how it worked out this time. I'm glad it did, because I was really struggling to kind of come up through the field at the beginning of the race and get track position. So you know, once it kind of worked out to where that run went long enough, I breathed a little sigh of relief. But yeah, no crystal ball here, just luck.
Well, all right, tie this last question into thanking all your sponsors and your team. But feel good about Bristol next week?
Oh yeah, no, Bristol. Bristol's one of my best tracks. So looking forward to it. Still trying to figure out this car. I don't think I have the kind of tire saving down quite like I need to, and I'm a little harder on the tires than I think some of the guys who are really fast in this. But I always have pace at Bristol. If we qualify up front and we stay out of the mess, I think we'll be okay. But we'll see. I think the second place really solidifies the spot onto the next round, which was a goal, and hopefully we can cap it off end of round one with a win at Bristol like we did last year. So I'm hoping we can keep it going. Thank you to A51 Pro. Road to Pro season's almost ending. We got a shot at making contenders, so we're gonna give it our best shot there. So thanks to them, thanks to my family and my girlfriend for all their support when it comes to this hobby, and thanks to y'all for putting this whole thing on.
Well, good luck in Road to Pro. I can't wait to watch and see where you end up there. Good luck in Contender, because I have a strong feeling you're going to make it. Phil, congratulations on P2 here tonight.
Appreciate that, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Evan P., you got the winning guy.
He's done with the celebration, and we have caught up with him now at victory lane. Matt Danson is your race winner tonight in the Kansas 200. He advances into the round of 12. Matt, congratulations on a win, and all of a sudden, these oval wins have become a habit. You got 2 of them now late in the season, and I think most importantly, you've moved on to the next round of the playoffs. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. How about that, huh? Yeah, just sort of, I guess, took the monkey off my back, and that was an awesome run. Obviously a bit lucky with the way the cautions fell and all that sort of thing, but I feel like I had the pace, no matter what. But yeah, that last whenever I got around Agnell, like after I sort of settled into that last 30 laps or whatever it was, I was just praying for no yellow. Just let us see it out.
Yeah, how did, Terry was asking him about what crystal ball you guys were using to be able to just decide to go for the 4 on the run that would go to the end of the race. What went into that decision? Did you have any feeling into the fact that maybe some other people had wrecked out to that point that things were going to go green, or was it just a lucky guess to be able to time that well and be able to have the fresh rubber when things really started to spread out?
There was definitely like a massive element of luck for sure. You kind of, you use your best guess to to see how it'll go. But I had a bit of a laugh to Agnell at the time. He PM'd me, I PM'd him. That we were in a bit of a box at that point, because I think we were in 28th, 29th, something like that. And maybe it wasn't the best choice, but yeah, I'd sort of seen that. It was starting to spread out a little bit, and it's just all it takes is just to pass that threshold of like that sort of 15 lap mark, 20 lap mark. Once we get a fair run in and people start to have a bit of a gap between each car and they're not on top of each other, once that happens, then it's pretty hard to have a wreck. Like this car was really very much on rails. So yeah, I was it was like a calculated guess, I guess, but a lot of risk. But I was confident, but nervous as well.
So you get the race win here tonight. Obviously, you get to bypass half of the deal with the chaos that is Bristol to move into the next round. But all of a sudden, you're tied with Kevin King for the most race wins. That if anybody in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series this season, as I mentioned, you're finding that success on the ovals. Do you think you guys have kind of peaked at the right time here, or is there even more left in the tank as you look forward to the next round?
I'd like to think so, for sure. I felt like I've always had, decent speed on oval. I mean, that's sort of been my, what I've done the most over the last however many years. But I just sort of happened to be decent on the road stuff in the stock cars. But yeah, I'd like to think that we're peaking just at the right time. Being smarter as well with the races. Perhaps early in the season. And even throughout last season as well, with the way the format is, you're trying to have a bit of a swing for a victory and do what you can, but let the chips fall as they may after that. But now I'm sort of focused more. Even today, I was just focused. Let's just put ourselves in the top 5, and just consistently do that each week, and we should be sweet. It's not helping that I qualify like almost worst in field every week, but we're sort of getting the shovel out and digging from there, and kind of worked out today.
Plus 25 spots on a route to the race win here tonight, Matt. The sponsors, the shout-outs, all those good folks who makes it happen for you.
Yeah, well, I when Simon, our team manager, when he sees the race, if he hasn't already, he's gonna be sick when he sees that I didn't get the throwback off, so he's gonna throw up. But shout out Logitech, VRS, Virtual Racing School, Cube Controls, Racetech, Sam Blacklock Media. Everyone involved with Altus. It's a super tight-knit team. We've got a bunch of guys in round 2 at the moment with an awesome shot at Pro, and so cheering them on. I'm glad I can sort of hold the flag up my own on this end, but shout out to you guys as well. Thanks for everyone who puts it on and makes it all happen.
He's into the round of 12. He has the ability to relax next week at Bristol. That's Matt Danson, your race winner here tonight at the Kansas Speedway. So with that, the playoff picture continues to ever evolve, and this is what it looks like as we leave Kansas here tonight. King, Danson, your race winners, Terry, down to the cut line. Man, is it tight. I mean, you can chase it all the way up to a Sam Nieto, who's only 15 up before I really start to feel comfortable about some of the other drivers. Brandon 6 is just inside of not being mathematically locked, so it's all up for grabs. But look at the cut. 1 point out for Cato, 2 out for Casto. That is one great three-way fight with those drivers.
Yeah, I would say Harris up. 6 to Harris is, I would say, a lock. Nieto's very, very good. I would put him in the lock position. I would go Freenash on back is what kind of scares me, because you never know what happens at Bristol. And if a wreck happens for Freenash early in that race, or Connor Horn, if he has the same issue that he had here tonight, you're not making up 5 laps at Bristol. It's doable here. It's not very doable there. One wreck, one bobble could jumble that whole field up, in your playoff grid looks this and just flip it upside down. So Burke's in a must-win. Wetmore, I would say, is in a top 5 must. It's the playoff grid. This is a crazy playoff.
And of course, of all places to settle it, Bristol. And we can't even look back to the spring race that much to look for guidance, because that one was, of course, a dirt race won by Brandon 6. He hopes that it can translate to the pavement, but the Bristol night race will serve as the round of 16 elimination race, and you are not going to want to miss that one next Monday. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from iRacing's virtual Kansas Speedway. So on behalf of our entire team at RaceSpotTV, RealSimRacing, and our partners at Kayla Synthetics, I want to thank you for tuning in. On behalf of Joshua Lee, Terry Radford, and myself, Evan Pasoko, congratulations to Matt Danson, 5-time race winner, and is off on his quest for the championship to the round of 12. The road to the Full Throttle Cup will indeed continue next Monday night on September 19th from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series playoffs can be found exclusively here on RaceSpotTV. Till next time, good night from Kansas.